Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking out the IS20 Turbo from the Audi and putting in the IS38 Race Turbo that we've got. With some new spark plugs, all the gaskets from Awesome GTI. The car's already apart, so it's going to be making it much quicker because I don't have to take everything out. Just taking more stuff off, put the turbo in, put the pipes in. Let's see how we get on. The car's already in pieces, so it's going to make it much easier. I'm not sure if I have to remove this, but I'm pretty sure we have to remove this rail and the coil packs. And then these pieces just behind here, then we can access turbo. It might be able to come out this way. Here we have the new turbo, spark plugs, and the gaskets all needed to replace it. So let's get this one out and compare the two. To start off, I'm taking the top nut off the coil packs. As you can see here, I've screwed it back on. Do not do that, because when you do come to take the coil pack out, you're gonna have to take both nuts out anyway. Next, I'm working my way around, taking off all the bolts that are attaching the coolant lines and the hoses to the engine. Here I'm using a pick tool, removing all the connectors to the camshaft magnet sensors, and that allowed me to move this whole harness up and out of the way. The camshaft sensor solenoids were a little bit tricky, but using the pick tool I managed to get them loose. The clamps on the hoses are really annoying to remove with these needle nose pliers, so the next purchase is going to be the proper tool to remove these clamps. The turbo heat shield bolts are next, as well as one of the oil return lines for the turbo. Some more coolant hoses coming off. Now it's the nut that I wound back on the coil pack at the beginning, coming back off, so I can access the long bolt holding the coil packs in. Now the metal coolant line running around the back of the engine. And finally, all the bolts attaching the oil lines to the turbo. So what I've ended up doing is disconnecting the downpipe from the hanger at the bottom and off these two pieces here. Not sure if you can see it, but it's moved well out of the way. Unfortunately, it's the super long one from HDS. It would be way easier if it was in two parts, but it wasn't. So keep that in mind. Although this keeps the Euro emission certificate, which is awesome. It is one full tube, so it's harder to maneuver, but I'm hoping that gives me enough clearance to get this last bolt that's directly underneath it out, and then I can get this turbo out. The combination of not being able to see where the bolt is and a really tight space to fit the tools and your hands made it very difficult to get that last bolt off. But I did it, and this is me wiggling the turbo in every way, shape or form to try and get it out of the engine bay. And after a while, it finally came out. The turbo was out, that was a struggle. So it's been a few weeks since I got the IS20 out. The reason for that is I needed some tools to continue with the teardown and re-putting it all back together. I did try and order some parts from the auto store in town, but after back and forth, he either couldn't get them, forgot about me, and it took forever. So I went to Amazon, I got the spark plug socket and the O2 sensor sockets. So today we're going to get the rest of the bits off the IS20 onto the IS38 and then get the turbo into the car. Now we've got the 16 milk, super long, and it should have the magnet on the end, so once it's fully unscrewed, there we go. Now just the other three. This is what the spark plugs look like. Let me know what you think. Is the burning bad? This is the first time I've taken spark plugs out of any car. This was at the last cylinder, and then from the beginning, number one. Got these competition ones to go in. I do have a gap tool, but I can't find it, so I'm gonna have to have another look, and then we'll be able to gap them properly, put them in the car. What I've done for now is taped up all the holes, just so nothing can get dropped in them. Have a good look for that gap tool, and then we can start gapping the brand new competition spark plugs. Here I'm putting on the O2 sensor socket and that oil feed line that was really tricky to get off. Do not do this before you put the turbo in. It'll make life so much easier if you put the turbo in and then put all this on. So now I've got the new gasket, the clamp and all the O-rings from Awesome GTI to go on this new turbo. So everything fresh. This is the one that's seized on. That O-ring is pretty done. I'll give this connection a clean up before we put the new O-ring on. This piece pushes into here. I'm going to take the 3 O-rings that are still attached to the pipes in the car, and then we can compare them against what we've got from Awesome GTI. These are the O-rings from the car. There's a green, black one. That one's already in the bin because it was all naffed up. But as you can see, that's quite clearly that one. This one. The other black one goes on the pipe that was stuck on, and then we have the green one. So when you take it off, you'll see that one's the one with the green O-ring. These are the black one, and then the red one on the small pipe. I'm going to clean the other pipe and these two up before I put the O-rings on. So far so good. We have everything on the IS38 that we had on the IS20 before we took it out. Now we're going to put this into the car. I'm going to do the O2 sensor as well. After dismantling it, way easier, so just put it in without anything off. Put this end in first, and it went in a lot easier than the smaller one came out. I've just put 1 bolt, just finger tight on, just to hold it up so it doesn't drop on to these oil lines. I'm going to push these all in now. O2 socket goes in that one, the other oil line here. Connect all those up. Something I didn't think about before pushing the oil lines on was get this gasket in place, because once the oil feed lines, the back ones on are anyway, you can't get it fully off. So I'm just going to take it off these hooks, take this bolt off, slide this on. After getting the gasket in place and getting the 4 bolts tightened up, I then moved on to putting the oil feed lights on. I put some oil on the O-rings and that got them seated super easy. Then came the hard part. The first one you're going to want to tighten up is underneath, directly underneath the turbo. And I took forever to try and get it there. Luckily I didn't drop the screw. It would be super easy to do that, but really difficult. It took so long, they had to take a break, and then in the end, I started again the next day. I had a break, came back, and I finally got that one screw underneath in. I could line it up, but I couldn't get it to catch, and then I realised I was doing it the wrong way because it's underneath, so I've got to turn it to the left. So that's done, back one's in. I'm going to put this one in, and this oil feed line. I'm just going to do this one loosely because you do have to prime the turbo with some oil, so I'm not going to tighten that one up, but this one I will. That is where we are at with the IS38 turbo install for this evening. I am so happy with the progress so far. We're going to get back to it tomorrow. We are waiting on parts. This one that did break. Racingline make a billet piece. And that's one of the oil feed lines. It goes just here. That's on order, it's on back order. It's going to take a few weeks. However, we've got a lot of work to do to get to the point where we really need that. So tomorrow we're going to get back to it. It is so exciting to get that in. I can't wait to hear it, drive it, and get the Audi back with some wheels on, drivable. The next morning, super excited to get the rest of this buttoned up. I managed to get that underneath bolt in last night. I realised I was screwed it the wrong way, so that's why I wouldn't just catch. But I sort of like grab the turbo like this, and then I managed to get the bolt in between my fingers and spin it just enough to get it to stay, and then used an Allen key to get the rest of it on. Pain in the butt, but managed to do it. Fresh clip from Awesome GTI. So I just put that on loosely, and then I've got to get the downpipe back on the 2 hangers. That really wasn't too difficult. Okay, keep that loose, and then I'm going to get these bolts put back on. While you're watching me putting those 2 bolts back on the downpipe, if you haven't already subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like and the subscribe button. If you've subscribed already, thank you so much, you're an absolute legend. Oxygen sensor. Super easy that. Next is all these things. Putting a little bit of oil on the O-ring just to help it slide in. Now we're going to put this piece in. Maybe I should have done this before I attach the downpipe, but I'm going to give it a go because this just slides on. That bolt goes through. Sort of in between where the turbo clamps onto the engine and the downpipe is right in the middle. Okay, so you can do it with the downpipe installed, it's not too hard. It might be tricky to get to the slide bolt, but this back one, not so difficult. So I'll tighten that one up first, and then I'll go down to the one attaching to the engine. If I remember right, I used an Allen key on this one. This second one, it's underneath the copper bolt, just there, and this is in the way, so I'm gonna get an extension to go across and then try and tighten that up. That's the extension. After tightening that bolt up, I then moved on to the blow-off valve. Now that has torn, so I'm going to put some tape over that. Not the best, but it'll have to do for now. I'll get something better to replace it with. That electrical tape is just a temporary fix, and I'm going to take it off. I have now found the loom tape that I bought a long time ago, so I'm going to replace it with that. I take off the turbo elbow to install the blow-off valve. It'll just make life a lot easier. Moving on, here I'm putting the coolant system back together. All the silicone hoses are going in, as well as the metal coolant line that runs around the back of the engine. That is looking a whole lot better. Still got the spark plugs and the coil packs to put in. Lock this down, connect everything up. Next, we've got the charge pipes, the new coolant line, obviously the radiator and the intercooler, but I've got a decision to make. Remember, we've got the Bartec pipes, which weren't very great fitting, but that could have been due to me struggling, trying to get my hands up. It was the very first mod that I did on this car. It's the first time I'd ever worked on a car. That could have been my fault. Or the APR ones, which is 3mm thinner than these metal ones. They still look really nice. This tube on the Bartec one's much chunkier than the APR. And obviously we've got the new Racingline coolant line. I'm thinking try the APR ones because I've got the turbo muffler delete on the TTE Turbo, fits that. Then if they don't work, I can get the Bartec turbo muffler delete for the thicker pipes and try them. But I'm going to see how the APR ones fit. They look awesome, they're brand new. I really want to see what they do, how they feel. And there's going to be a big difference when I restart this car. There's so many new things going on it, so you might not be able to tell the difference, but that's what I've decided to do. I'm going to save the other ones for a future project. I'm sure we'll find something to put them on, so let's try and get these on. So the baffle, it doesn't go all the way to here, but that's not coming off. I put this right on the edge. Now put this on, just glides on the top here. That should be perfect for the armor speed intake now. No more kinks. Next we have the APR silicone hose. These clamps, really nice. It's got the ridge on the inside like the Racingline stuff. Now it's these rubber pieces. So far so good. This is tightened up. This one's tightened up, so it's not going to move now. So that shouldn't blow off. I'm going to snug these up, one on there, one on connected to the turbo. Then take this Bartec version off, because it's a bit bigger, and find the one from Racingline that attaches to the APR pipes. But don't they look crazy? So nice. When you get the Racingline hose kit, you not only get the 2 intercooler pipes, but they give you 3 options. So if you're keeping the OEM charge pipes, or this one will fit the APR one. Bartec gave you this one because it's even thicker again, but we're going to fit this with that pipe. I have hit another problem. So I just went to put the MAF sensor in, and these two, as you can see, are slightly different. This one fits the Bartec pipes no problem. Obviously there's an O-ring to go in there, but on the APR ones it sits on top and there'll be no rubber seal. I'm going to go check if there's an adapter or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a different MAF sensor, but we might be putting these back on. Let me know in the comments if you know if there's a different MAF sensor. Massive steps forwards. Turbo is in there, just behind everything. Coolant hose looks like it's going to be spot on. That'll sit like that. Airbox on top here. These look amazing, but might have to come out. So I'm going to go and check about them. But yeah, Really cool so far. Still obviously waiting for some parts, radiator clips and things like that. Huge step forwards, but one last thing before I go. These are the spark plugs. What do you think of them? Obviously I'm not going to put them back in. We have these competition ones, brand new from NGK. They're going to go in. Once I get the feeler gauge, or find the one that I had. But yeah, I don't know anything about spark plugs, so you tell me, good or bad. I'm going to leave it there, do some research, and I'm going to get back to you in the next video. Hopefully be able to put one of these two sets of pipes in and get the front end a little bit more reassembled. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.